Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Mark Hyde.
And Chris Fuller.
And on today's episode of Real Talk Christian, we are sitting down with the guys from Dudes and Dads podcast, and we're asking them the question, how can Christians impact the community and the world around them? Fuller, you ready?
Let's go.
Thank you for joining us at Real Talk Christian, a place where real Christians talk about real issues impacting the community and the world as it pertains to Christians. Now here are your hosts, Mark Hyde and Chris Fuller.
Mark, what's going on, man?
Fuller, dude, welcome back, my friend.
It's good to be back for take two.
You don't need to tell the people that.
Oh, you know there's no bars held here. This is real talk.
Guys, we forgot to record. Our secretary forgot to press record.
Dang it, secretary.
I'm sorry.
No, we're screwing with Andy. But
Yeah.
no, so we are, what does Jagger call it?
We are off-site on location.
Off-site on location. We are not, so people might not know this, but obviously we're from South Bend, Indiana.
Right, yeah.
But we record at my house,
Yeah.
at my kitchen table.
Which, coming here, we're kind of lame.
Dude,
I mean,
we are
we
in an
really are.
actual, well, it's
We're
an
in the
office, but it's their
presence of
studio.
greatness
We
here.
are sitting down in Dudes and Dads studio
Over in
right
Goshen,
now
Indiana.
in Goshen, Indiana. So
35 miles, as Joel has told us. 35 miles east.
From
of
where
South
you
Bend.
are. Yeah, from where you are.
Yeah.
And so for perspective reality, you know, we're from South Bend. We're the home of Notre Dame, fighting Irish, like go Irish. But so we're in South Bend, big city life, big
Right.
culture, big scene. We had to pass like 5 buggies, a dude on a bike, and my car was driving over
Recumbent
poop.
bike.
Recumbent
A
bike.
recumbent bike.
Napoleon Dynamite gone Amish.
No, Weird Al.
Weird Al.
That's
fine,
what it was.
fine, okay.
But
Weird
anyways.
Al. But either way, so it was supposed to take us 35 minutes to get here, and took us like 50 because of the Amish.
Yeah, and
So
I'm sure that Joel and Andy are getting tired of hearing the story because it's like the 8th time we've told it.
dude,
so.
I'm a city boy. I'm
Yeah.
from right outside Chicago and Hammond, and now I'm in South Bend, and now I'm in a place where I don't even know if I got Wi-Fi right now.
Yeah, see,
Like, where are we?
part of my life I grew up in Dowagiac, so it's like most
That's
people are
like
like, what's Dowagiac? Yeah, that's just north of Niles.
Is it the
so.
Dowagiac, like the Indians or the
chieftains.
chieftains?
The
That's right, the
chieftains, yeah,
chieftains,
yeah,
something
so.
like that. But either way, dude, so we are here right now with Dudes and Dads hanging out, using their equipment. In fact, because of Dudes and Dads, we got video for the first time ever. So Andy,
Right.
thank you for that,
Thanks,
man, because
Andy.
we know
You're welcome.
you're the whiz behind the video. You want to put your face on the
There-
camera.
and now-
There's Andy.
And now we are salivating over all their equipment that is just so wonderful.
We need
and
some
so
upgrades.
Listeners, listen up.
Yeah, so because of their Patreons and because of their friends and because of their donors, they got cool swag to help get
Yeah.
the message out, to help, spread the kingdom. So if you want to help spread the kingdom and do Jesus-type efforts, give us money.
Call now.
Moral story. Moral story is give us money.
Yeah.
So we can get some upgrades and other things like that.
So
But-
anyways, let's jump into the
let's jump in,
coffee
dude. Let's
that
not
we are
waste
drinking.
time.
Joel, where's our coffee from today?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So this is a Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee, which if you know anything about the Jamaicans and their coffee, it's a kind of a big deal there. This is from the Island Blue Roasters.
The Island Blue.
Island Blue, Jamaican Blue Mountain Coffee. I got this this past summer when we were down there for a trip with our students, serving with our good friends at Jamaica Relief Ministries.
No, you went down there just for the coffee.
Well, that sweetened the deal for sure.
Youth pastors have secret reasons for
Yeah,
going
it's
on
like
mission.
I will say, I was like, okay. When we got down there, our good friend Joe, who was coordinating our trip, I said, okay, dude, I'm super excited to be here. Super excited. We're gonna do some ministry. We're gonna build some homes for some families. It's gonna be wonderful. But the one thing I must do is get to a store with legit 100% Blue Mountain coffee.
There you go.
And so we did that one evening, and it turns out that Jamaican grocery stores are busiest at 9 p.m. at night.
Yeah, you mentioned that 9 p.m.
It
at night.
was odd. He's like, I'll just warn you, the lines are going to be long. I'm like, I'm in it for the coffee. We're in this for the long
Let's do
haul.
it.
It's well worth it.
So
It's a big biscuit. You
Yeah,
gotta
the
risk it for
coffee
the
is good.
biscuit.
It's kind of a full-bodied medium roast. It's good stuff. We drink it black here.
It was
up
really
in the,
good.
the
And
studio.
for people to know, I don't drink black coffee, and I've already drank a cup, and I'm working on my second one.
Yeah, it was really
Good
good.
luck sleeping, bro, Chacho.
Friday night, baby.
Yeah, he's
Let's
living.
go.
He's living on the edge. But
He's got 50 minutes to get back to South Bend.
That's right.
Depends on how many buggies we get caught behind.
I'm not 30 yet, guys. I'm
Yeah,
cruising in my 20s, so I don't want to.
Thanks for rubbing that.
Those
in.
of us
Yeah.
who are old, are
Just
like,
has-
we need to
thanks, Gen
sleep.
Z.
that one under there. You
But
know.
yeah,
Okay, boomers.
the coffee is fantastic,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
we're glad. But what I will just say, if you were to get on Amazon right now and search for this coffee, you will see that it will cost you $70
$70.
a pound. I'm not sure if it's $70 a pound good. I don't know if you can taste the $70 in it.
I would hope so. I hope there's like gold flakes in it.
That's
but
amazing.
I was glad to share it with you guys, and it gave me a good reason to break the final bag open for tonight.
You broke
So,
a bag open for
Just
us.
for us.
Yes, absolutely.
How many
Dude.
bags did you sneak home with you?
I had several.
You guys make it sound like it drugs. like,
Well, it feels that way when you're like there's like
Joel was
these
the mule.
these 60 yeah.
like you're like shoving it in your socks.
That was the thing. I was like, because I had a small, not a too big of a suitcase, and I had it full and bring it back. So I'm like shoving these like 16-ounce bricks into my bag.
I'm
He
Coming
left
back.
picturing-
half of his clothes.
No,
there.
I'm picturing Joel like Italian Job or like Mission Impossible, like giving his like coffee out to teens where it's like sneak this in your bag,
right,
guys.
right.
If they sprout, like if your bag is confiscated, that's okay because little
right.
Tommy's is gonna get
That's
through.
exactly right.
exactly.
You don't put all your eggs in one basket.
That's right.
That's
That's
exactly
Warren
how you
Buffett.
lose.
Warren Buffett. That's some good financial and
Wow.
coffee
Oh,
principles.
man.
So we're drinking stuff courtesy of Dudes and Dads. I mean, we
Thank
drink
you.
a lot of Starbucks.
So
we drink
wait
some
a
other
second.
stuff.
We got video
but-
and we got coffee. Good $70 a pound coffee.
Yep. And
All-
we have
and-
another guy running our tech. Andy is running our tech for us. I don't have to touch a thing tonight.
It's weird.
This is, what we've
yeah,
done, Andy,
kinda
accidentally, is we've really extended to them the Anabaptist way. They're feeling.
Okay, so I will say this about the Anabaptists. So I have a
here we
deep
go.
love. No, I have a love and appreciation for the Anabaptists.
Okay.
I really do. So
You should, as a Baptist, we're like cousins.
we're cousins, yeah, because we come from the English Baptist rather than mainland Europe. I know Andy's like, what the heck is
It's
happening right
we're-
here?
it's
We're
okay.
we're church history buffs, but no, the Anabaptists were the reformers of the reformers. So like when Martin Luther and Calvin were like, "You suck, Roman Catholics," and they're like, "Man, if y'all apparently ain't reading the Bible good enough, so we're gonna show you how it's done."
And we just lost half of our listener base.
So anywho,
Here's the theology on Anabaptists and
so-
Baptists.
So yeah, so
But anyways,
we're
yeah.
hanging out at your guys' church right now
Joel's
in the
getting all
studio.
excited.
So me and Joel are gonna have an offline conversation.
Yeah, you're gonna have
about
to.
that.
Well, let's jump into
Yeah,
it, man.
dudes. What are we
let's
talking
get
about
to
tonight?
let's get to know our guests
Absolutely.
a little bit first. So let's start with you, Andy. What's a little bit of your background and maybe like how you became a Christian?
Awesome. So I am one of those kids who grew up. My parents were always Christian, so I always grew up in the church. But I kind of made my faith my own as I was growing up as a teenager. I kind of was bold. I mean, I don't want to say bold, but I had a cross shaved in the back of my head. I was one of those geeky kids like that. Yeah.
And now you got tattoos.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So, but my mom had cancer growing up, and so it kind of during that time period kind of made my faith my own, and kind of got to see God move and God work and stuff like that. And she survived, but
That's good.
But yeah, it kind of allowed me to go deeper into my faith.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started from. Just always been a Christian, but have made it my own.
Okay. Was there ever a time in your life where you felt closer to God than not?
Sure. I think, yeah, during the tough, it's ironic. It's usually during the tough times in my life that I feel closer to God. During the time my mom had cancer, as well as once I was married, and my wife and I had a stillborn daughter. And so, like, during those times were both the times I felt the closest and also almost the farthest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it was like, at that time I was mad at God because I didn't really understand how a good God, and I knew him to be a good God, could allow these things to happen.
Yeah.
But that also allowed me to dig real close and, dig deep into my faith and realize who exactly God was.
Right.
And so, did you grow up in this church? I don't think we mentioned it in round 2 of the intro recording. But what church are we at right now, Joel?
So we're at Clinton Frame Church here in Goshen.
Clinton Frame. So, did you grow up here at Clinton Frame?
I actually did not. I was born in this area, but then did most of my growing up in the Chicagoland area.
Oh wow.
Wait.
yeah.
Hold up. Actually,
Yeah.
in Illinois?
In Illinois. So we were furthest west suburb, Batavia.
I actually don't know that one.
Aldi is actually based out of Batavia.
Okay, I know where you're at. I know
Yeah,
where you're
yeah.
at.
So grew up mostly there. Came back here. My wife is from here, so kind of moved back here. So no.
So she was just a small town girl living in the lonely world.
Midwest magic right there, baby. That's a Midwest magic.
So,
John Tibbs.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Joel, we're going to swing this over to you. Same question. What's a little bit of your background and how you became a Christian?
How all that stuff happened. I do not remember. So
You don't remember?
I don't
just
remember
stuff?
anything.
He doesn't
I don't
remember how he
anything.
became
Those
a Christian.
Anabaptists, man, y'all
Yeah,
drink too much.
I
It's all
don't
in the beard.
remember. I don't remember. No. So grew up in a Christian home. And from what my mom tells me, one day I would have been young, and just said like, "Hey, so how do I become a Christian, Mom? How do I believe in Jesus?" Or sat up on her lap. She prayed with me, and the rest is history there. But really, yeah, just always grew up in just a strong home. Faith was really, really central. But as is often the case, and we know this is working with youth, that in my end of my sophomore year of high school, had a pretty significant experience with a youth retreat ministry, and was away at a retreat weekend and met Jesus in a very new and refreshing way, and that was sort of my. I think depending on what Christian tradition you're in, they would identify it as either my second crisis of faith, but for me it was just very much like I just experienced Jesus at a deeper level where it was like.
Became real.
Yeah, it's very, very real. Just practically speaking, very, very real. And so from there, just a lot of things that experience shaped a lot of the direction of my life.
Oh, that's cool.
Moving forward.
So what do you do now?
Well,
He's a podcaster, Fuller.
Yeah.
Yep.
For dudes and dads.
That's right. That's paying the bills. That's not true.
Paying for that movie ticket
I
tonight.
did send guys in this I did send Andy this photo the other day. Joe Rogan has now grossed $30 million off of.
No, he
We're all
hasn't.
doing it wrong. We
Off
should have become
of his
famous
podcast.
first. and
Right.
then
I mean,
done a
Carrie
podcast.
Newhoff is like he's paying a full staff to run his podcast
Up there.
because of his podcast.
Yep. And so whatever, I know that's not necessarily the dream for me, but I just it's interesting that this
no,
thing.
it's the dream. It's the dream. It's the dream.
Listen to this guy.
Let's just be real.
So what you guys need to do, listeners, is go ahead and become patrons of our page, and then go over to the Dudes and Dads podcast.
For
I mean,
$3,000 a month.
That's right.
just a measly.
I'll
it's-
even
it's-
pray over a small cloth and send it to
Just
you.
remember,
Hey.
just remember,
And
it's
we'll send you a T-shirt.
It's
No.
God's money. We're just the stewards. So
thank you.
He wants you to send that to us.
Where
No.
your heart is, that's where your treasures is.
So
Other way around. Where your treasures are, there's where your heart is.
No,
keep going, bro. Keep
Anyways,
going.
go ahead.
thank you. I serve as the youth and young adult pastor here at Clinton Frame Church, and so I've been on. I've been here. I'm going on 5 years. It'll be 5 years this coming fall, actually now. But really love it. I'm responsible for middle school, high school, and then our young adults up to, roughly speaking, age 25. And I've just got a great team. Really enjoy it. But this is the first time this particular ministry position where I've only had one job, where I've just been full-time pastor. I was bivocational for 10 years.
And for those of you who are listening who don't know what that is, what is bivocational?
It
and what does that mean
means
for you?
Joel usually had a sales job of some sort, and then also a paid, very part-time pastor gig on the side, and tried to balance those things as best he could.
Keyword.
And then after Joel had his third child, Joel said, "I think I have reached my capacity to be bivocational." And then, thank the Lord, opportunities opened up, and it was just been a really, really good fit. I love the community that we're at. And then we had our fourth child, and I was like, "Thank you, Lord."
He knew it was coming.
because that would have,
Right.
I would have been pushed over the edge. So,
Would have
Yeah.
needed more Jamaican.
yeah,
For reals though.
100%.
For reals though.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing, and we're just it is. I mean, again, it is one of the most fulfilling things that I can imagine. I love all of our students and our pastoral team here, and we're having a really, really good time. So
wait,
yeah, go ahead.
Real,
You got a question.
Real talk.
I thought the
question.
real talk question it too.
Are you?
Well, I'll let you
All
go
right,
first.
real
I
Fuller.
feel like
talk.
I need to like gird my loins.
So,
Gird 'em.
do you have somebody? You don't have to name any names.
Oh, I will.
Hey,
Let's,
are you about
let's
to ask
name
him
names.
if he has a favorite?
I'm going to ask if he has a favorite and somebody he dislikes in his youth ministry.
You better not ask me that question.
I'm asking Joel.
They're all God's children.
Do I have a favorite?
Do you have like that one student like you're like, man, this person's going somewhere. I can really connect with this person. And then you have one person that's like, I really wish your parents wouldn't you bring you here. Like those.
You can't ask me. You
Oh, I'm asking.
It's good. No,
I told him he didn't have to name names.
I have so I have
Oh my goodness.
a couple of
Do you
students.
see him stumbling over here, Andy?
real
What?
talk.
I'm
He's
just-
like, how do I say this without like
And
No,
Andy,
giving it
you
away.
are his youth staff. You're
Right.
part of his
You
youth
can-
staff.
I have a couple. Here's what I was
Let me
saying.
give
I have a couple of students that I naturally just really connect really well with,
That's
and
a good way to put it.
and that I'm. This is mostly like a personnel. It's just it's partly it's a
Right,
personality thing. Who I think are probably part of it might be is like I think they are probably vocational ministry material.
Right.
And so I see that in them. And the one thing I always say is like I want to be the kind of pastor that I needed when I was
let's
in,
go.
That's good.
in high school. And that was I had a few, and it wasn't until college, but I remember the dean of students when I first went up to Cornerstone University. I just remember I gave my first message to I gave like a talk to our freshman class at a chapel or whatever. And I just remember the things that he said to me after that, where I was super self-conscious and
Oh, of course, right.
I filled out a little bit, but I was gangly as all get out and very self-conscious about my just everything you are. And I just remember him saying at the end, he's like, this is something that you should pay attention to. And so that's why I connect with some students where it's like, I see you going in a direction there are certain skill sets and sensitivities and awarenesses
Your
you have.
personality.
Right. And that I connect with that obviously because it's like, people are not going into ministry right now. Like ministry departments in Christian colleges are shrinking by and large,
Or Christian colleges are just closing.
or just
Just
closing
flat out.
altogether.
Yeah, mine did.
Right. Yeah. And so it's So that's why I probably connect with a few of the students I'm thinking of. But on it,
he does not named any names
No.
yet, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
I
I'm not.
noticed that.
I'm not going to name any names.
You know, we would have accepted a yes and a yes. I would have accepted. that.
Really?
I would have. But
You
that's
coulda-
all right.
you coulda
Our
told me that.
listeners may not have. but
Andy might have a favorite, but he doesn't get paid here, so he can't.
Don't worry.
Right.
The question's getting swung around.
Yeah. I've and I primarily lead our high school ministry. Andy's with our middle schoolers.
Perfect. They all suck.
Yeah.
No, middle school.
No,
is the
man.
best, dude.
No, yeah.
Andy
Middle
loves
school is the
middle
best.
school, which is why he's with them. But
They're
really,
so immature and it's so fun.
yeah, I probably have one or two younger students that I don't interface with regularly that are like, you're a challenge,
You're weird,
and I
yes.
don't quite know how to connect. But by and large, I gotta say, I don't have like behavior problems in
That's
our
good.
in our ministry, because I listen to plenty of pastors who are like, I got this. I always got like the one kid or whatever.
Right.
I'm pretty fortunate. I'm not spending a lot of my time doing behavior management. It is pretty much like we're discipling students, we're empowering them to go out into the world in which they are, in which God has sent them, and pretty much everybody seems to be heading in that direction.
Very
That's
good.
cool.
Very good. Did you still remember your question that you had for Joel?
Dude, I was like engrossed in this question. I'm like, how is he going to answer this? Because you don't just
That's
ask
like
a
the
youth
scariest
pastor,
thing
Who's
a
your
youth pastor can-
favorite?
yeah.
Because every teen's like, well, obviously,
But it's real
I'm their
talk, so
favorite.
we're going to talk real.
We're going to talk real. We're going to talk.
I should have come up with like a fake name that doesn't I don't have any student and just
So,
Karen.
so
Karen.
Jeanette,
You don't like
Karen.
Karen. You don't
Karen
like
is
Karen.
the worst. Karen is the absolute worst. I don't know why our parents bring her. They always show up late for pickup. I'm here till 9:00 at night. Karen, I hope you're listening.
Karen.
I do have a couple kids where it's like one of them like flat out. I'm like, okay, it's halftime for the super
Eli.
party. No, not Eli. He drives himself now. But no,
No, I'm
this
just
like
messing.
this person at halftime.
I gotta
I'm
get
like,
his
hey,
attention.
text your ride now.
Right.
But it's only halftime. I know.
Yeah.
Text your ride
Right.
now.
I know how this works. Yeah.
Yes.
So-
Definitely. No, I don't remember my question.
All right, let's swing over to Andy. Andy, what do you do as far as, to things that you do?
like you do, like in the youth group.
Well,
or-
two questions.
Let's-
Like,
What is your profession, and
Okay,
then and then swing it around to the youth side of
Well,
things.
more
Like
than
what
that,
do you
like-
do? And
what pays the bills?
Okay, so what pays the bills
There you
is
go.
my voice. No, not really.
So
That's
sexy.
Joel's voice pays your bills. That's what
Yeah,
happens.
no, not really.
his technical skills pay the bills.
No, but anywho, so
Yeah.
what does pay the bills?
So I work in IT. I'm a systems admin at a local company. So I work on servers. So yeah, I'm a geek, a nerd, and I like
You're a
computers.
techie.
but-
no,
You're a
no.
techie.
He's a theology nerd, like Soche.
Like
would say.
Soche.
Yeah.
There you go. No,
But
so,
yeah,
so
so-
you're a techie.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay, cool.
So, but I
His
know some of
answer
your
was
hobbies.
Wait, his answer was
what?
about as long as mine was on their podcast.
That's
that was
true.
pretty
True. Okay.
awesome.
So you can tell who the pastors are and
we
who
can,
the laymen
we can tell
are.
who the talkers are and who the guys that just like.
Yep.
Yeah,
no, but
I
what?
gotcha.
But I know some of your hobbies because of just
Sure.
getting to connect with you guys. But what are some things that you do or have done that you really enjoy?
So I like geocaching.
Yep.
It's kind of a high-tech scavenger hunt with GPS and stuff. It's fun with the family. So I like hanging out with my kids a lot, and so we go and do that. Haven't done that as much lately as we used to do, but I'm looking forward to hopefully getting more into
Get
that
back
this year.
into the spring.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
you started a podcast
On
about it.
geocaching.
I
right?
did. So I was one of the original. Like I've been podcasting for a long time. It's again, I like talking. It's one of the things I like to do, and so I started a podcast about geocaching, and then life changes, life transitions. We moved out of the house we were in, had our stillborn daughter, some stuff like that, and so I got out of the podcasting space for a while, and so I gave that podcast up to some other people. They're still running it, but
In fact, you were just on their podcast.
I was
right?
actually, yeah. So.
See, we stalk you. We stalk you on Instagram.
Just a little bit.
But yeah, so those are some of the things that I like to do, as well as this podcast or the Dudes and Dads podcast,
Right?
Because again, Joel and I are really close friends, and we kind of just said, hey, like, well, what can we do to kind of talk more than we already do? And so,
As
look at
us
that.
young guys would say, you have a bromance.
You have a bromance.
Some
so
bromance
let's
going on.
transition into that then. So you mentioned that you and Joel are friends, and then you guys started the podcast. So where did the inspiration for Dudes and Dads come about, and why did you start it?
Joel, I'm gonna let you take that one.
Oh,
So
here
we're
we
over
go.
at like I think there comes a point. I mean, I have been in vocational ministry for 15 years, over a little bit over, and you get to a point in life where you're like, I love what I'm doing, but there seems like there's an itch that I can't quite
Yep.
scratch, right? There's a
Yeah.
interest that I have that's kind of outside of the normal by the way,
The scratchy fingers.
That's the wiggle worm
I literally
from
I'm
Children's Church. Wiggle worm.
he was trying to do quotations
Didn't
and
work.
it
I don't
came
know.
out.
It's odd.
At least it was the pointer finger. At least it was the pointer finger.
So it was just like there was a need for a creative outlet, and
Yeah.
like I had mentioned to you guys kind of offline. Initially when I started college, my thought would be that I would be in broadcasting of some sort, and I like to talk to people, I like to hear people's stories, and there was just this creative part where I'm like, okay, I want to branch out into this. I know zero things about the technology, but at the time I knew zero things about
Right.
the technology behind podcasting, but I did know that Andy knew lots of things about that. So I was over at Andy's house one evening, and I said, Andy, I've got 4 words for you: Dudes and Dads podcast. And he looked at me,
Do you remember this?
Yeah, and I was like,
and he's like, no. He told me no.
well, at that time, I no, listen.
You
You're
need to
like,
hear
nobody will
Andy's.
listen.
You
at
do
this
need to
time-
hear Andy's perspective.
At
on
this time, I was going back to school. I had not. Right after high school. I went to college for 2 years, but didn't ever graduate or anything like that. Stopped doing that. Completely switched. Kind of went into the IT profession, but that's not what I was doing. I went to school for first year youth ministry, but decided that was not for me.
Really?
So, and then I went into missions, and they decided that was not for me either.
It's like,
So that's
man, I'm
why-
just striking
right.
out.
So I stopped and went into IT because that's kind of where my heart is. But I went back here. I'm older than probably all of y'all.
True.
So I went back to school just recently and graduated 2 years ago.
But good for
You're-
you, bro.
yeah, so-
With family and
Yeah, it was
snap.
tough. Full time doing that. Full time working.
So
and
I
you had a
was
family.
I was-
and,
Family,
and,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then Joel's like, bro.
Hey, you want to do
Yeah,
a podcast?
bro, let's
yeah.
go.
I knew I was throwing a fair amount at him.
So that's
and,
why I said no.
He said no, and I said
That's why
okay.
I said no.
And I said okay, and so it was basically though it was like this is going to happen. There isn't a timeline. but it's going to happen eventually.
You didn't
so
give
I'm
me
gonna,
a choice.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to, and then Andy, once he was kind of in a different place,
Once he had a come to Jesus moment,
he came back to me late. I mean, it was quite some time later
Yeah.
when some things had settled down and changed a little bit, and he's like, I'm ready to rock and roll, and I was like, fantastic.
Finally.
So this is something that, because Fuller's an avid listener. You've been a listener
Right.
since the beginning.
Since day one.
A question I have always wanted to ask is, dudes and dads. Why dudes and dads?
What does it mean?
Yeah.
For our listeners, what does that mean, dudes and dads?
So, I think there is a, generally speaking, it's hard. There's a struggle for being there's a struggle to know how to be a good dude, how to be a dude these days, and because for me, honestly, I think one of the finest compliments. There's two really great compliments you can receive. Man, you're a good dude. You know, he's a good dude, and you're a good dad. If I hear those two things,
Like
and
you made it.
Like, yeah, it's like I get. This is
Right.
Yes, this is what I am. This is what I am trying to accomplish in the world.
Right.
And so we're like, I want to help encourage other dudes and dads to be the best that they can be, and I want to form a community where even if as we were talking earlier, like there is a sense of the kind of the lonesome or lone male in our culture that doesn't have maybe a strong connection to community or other guys that are pouring in or supporting them. And it's like, okay, if we could give a vision for that through the podcast, if people could hear Andy and I, much like yourselves, Andy and I having these conversations, and they're like, okay, this is possible. And in the midst, I mean, basically it's Andy and I are trying to introduce our friends to the people that are listening, to give them hope for those kind of relationships and those kind of interactions.
Yeah, we realize that we have some really cool friends and people that we know have really cool stories, or people that we want to get to know.
Right.
And so we just wanted to create this context where we could come in and say, okay, here's who we know or want to know, and we think you should know. And so a lot of our episodes are us chatting with other people about their story, their life story. We've had everyone from people who help run like father programs in schools to somebody who lost their father recently, to ministries, to, I mean, you name it, we've had them on the show.
Yeah, working through divorce, working through blended families, working through, I mean, and again, these are all very real things that I don't take for granted, that not everybody has like a great resource or a great support to work through. And and I don't claim to be an expert in all of these things, but I do know that to be able to sit in on a conversation, to hear someone else, we've gotten messages back where like, man, that guest that you just had, that is my story, and just knowing that I was not the only one who has thought those things, who has worked through those things, whatever, is such a big deal. And so I was going to say that's all the payment we need. That's not actually true, but it's
what I'm
close.
hearing is if we have listeners listening to our podcast right now who are dudes or dads, they got to get up on Dudes and Dads podcast.
Definitely.
We even have women that listen to our shows.
That's
too.
true.
And in fact, you've even had, like, if I remember right,
Yeah,
your
our wives
have
are on,
been
yeah.
on
And
the show,
we're
right?
working on a segment known as Dudettes of the Square Table.
Andy, I believe your kids were on one episode at
They
one time,
were
too.
actually.
what?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were.
Which is why my kids are wicked ticked
They're mad,
that
yeah.
they have not been on yet. We're trying to work that out.
But yeah,
That's
no,
okay.
we talked to them about different things about being kids and being
How they
my
viewed their
kids.
dad,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it was a great episode.
It's always a little touch and go when you ask when I ask Andy's kids how they feel
How do you feel about your dad?
About Andy. Let's just pretend he's not in the room right now.
right.
Give me the lowdown.
Don't look at them. Close your eyes.
Yeah, they said good things though.
So you guys, you're really reaching out and bringing guests on your show, dudes and dads, to talk about issues that dudes and dads on a regular basis have to deal with. So how do you think, speaking on your platform as Dudes and Dads, how do we impact as dudes and dads our marriages?
Andy,
Apparently, you got the best marriage.
I guess. No, I mean, I just think, how do we impact as dudes and dads?
Yeah.
Like as a husband, how do we impact our marriages in the way that, like,
Sure.
we should as Christians.
Right. I think it's super important to be present, to not only in your marriage, but if you have kids too, to be present and be there. I know it's a lot of times a hard time to put the cell phone down. That's one of the things I
let's
struggle
go.
with a lot.
Yep.
So I've even got to the point, not always, but sometimes where when I come home, I stick my phone over, in the bedroom and just leave it there.
Oh, really?
For a while. Not always, but sometimes, especially if I'm feeling where I'm disconnected from my family a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
spent a lot of time away in the past week, or
right.
not connected.
I don't want to be there and be with nose down on the phone because
Right.
I know that that's going to affect, because I'm not there. I'm not present there.
And they're watching.
Right,
Like, they see what's
exactly.
going on.
Right. So that's one of the things that I think is important. I think it's important to be intentional with your time with both your kids and your wife. It's if you can show your kids that you have a relationship with your wife that's not just we're co-living together because
Right.
this is we're married, but like somebody that you're actually chasing after. I think that's a good thing too.
So let me ask. I don't know if we talked about this, but Andy, how many kids do you have?
All right. So it's always a tricky question for me. I actually have 5 kids, 4 that are living because we had that one stillborn. So we had 2 boys, and then we had our first daughter, and then the stillborn daughter, and then our last daughter. So technically we have 3 daughters and 2 boys. So
And so what's the age span between the two ages?
like between
the oldest and youngest.
oldest and youngest. So the oldest is 14 and the youngest is 4.
So you're living all sorts of life right,
Right.
now.
Oh, yeah.
Teenage
And-
years
Oh, yeah.
and toddler years.
And so I'm asking you this more as a dad who has a 4.5-year-old and a 14-month-old. How, and there's a lot of people in our space who listen in that same age range. How do you spend time with the kids, but also have that relationship with your wife, but also you podcast and have hobbies and a
how do you
job?
balance
and
everything?
you,
Sure.
you supposedly you sleep, so or just drink a lot of coffee.
a lot of
but,
Jamaican.
But how
coffee.
do you handle that, man? Specifically with the aspect of taking care of your wife.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's one of the things that I've made time to do that. So a lot of times we'll just spend time at home. One of the best times for me to hang out with my wife is after the kids go to bed, which isn't always the best because I do sleep, and so sometimes I fall asleep while doing
Right?
that.
Yeah. Like,
So
let's
that's
watch
not
a movie and just
right,
talk
and
about
I'm
all
asleep.
been there?
it. Yep.
The worst is when the movie ends and I'm like, "What happened?" And she's like, "I'm not going to tell you." So
You're like, man,
whoa. But no, I mean, I think being intentional with that, we're setting time out of your day to spend with your wife. Make it intentional, even if we're doing chores together. Like we try to just have fun. Like if I'm doing the dishes and she's folding something or doing, because she runs a ministry too, for mothers who have lost children either in stillbirth
Really?
or miscarriage. So
Well, let's just put it. I'm gonna, because I like to say these things about Julie. Julie is the chapter president for North Indiana Hope Mommies, and so it's the first chapter that is out of the state of Texas because it started in Texas,
mhm.
and so
Is there a website to define
Oh.
this? I've never heard of
HopeMommies.org is the main overall.
okay.
Julie's a rock star. She's an amazing woman, and her and her team are ministering to a lot of families that have had to go through.
And for
We're
those-
all dads here.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, right.
losing a child. There's just nothing quite like it.
Right.
And it frequently, even within the church, is something that is not talked about. Since Julie has come here, and they're here at Clinton Frame, and we, our church helps support that ministry, care about it a lot. It's just like people come out of the woodwork who are like, yes, I lost a child, and I have basically never talked about it. And it was just something that was kind of like moved on.
Especially
fast.
for older generations.
Oh,
The older
of course.
generation, it was
Older
like,
than
you
that,
lost a kid. It was like, buck up, move
Put it
on.
in a folder and file it
That's
away.
correct.
Very, very
That's correct. So
Yeah, so they do that, and
That's
I
really cool.
think that's one of the things that helped me to solidify like the importance of our marriage too, because the statistics of couples who have lost a kid that end up ending in divorce is incredible. I don't have the numbers
Really?
right
I
offhand,
did
but yeah,
not
it's
know that,
really
dude.
high.
super high.
And so it was one of those things that I was super intentional about when we lost our kid is
Like,
to
this will not happen to us.
right, yeah. So like we spent time, I supported her in her grief, but she also supported me in mine. And so like when I needed to just grieve and cry, like she took care of things. She supported me, and then vice versa when she was having that days of grief, or times of grief, I was there, and so we did it together,
Yeah.
and I think that's the problem.
That's dope.
Yeah. So
How did it?
And before we go on, I will put that in the show notes. I'll
Right.
put that website in the show notes for listeners.
Right. So I just want to know. I'm sorry if it's a tough subject.
No, you're good.
But we
This
know
is real talk,
Yeah,
man.
we
you're
know
good.
we personally know people that have lost children
In our own small group, even.
in our small group. My sister-in-law. How does that change your family dynamics? Real. I mean,
sure, yeah.
take as long as you need,
Right.
but real quick.
No, I mean, it as a dad, that's really hard too, because you're trying to parent your kids, and everybody, no matter who it is, grieves differently.
Right.
You know, it may take some people just a few, just a short amount of time. Some people deal with it for a very long time, and kids are dealing with it different. And as a dad, it's really hard to support your kids in that and try to be there for them when, sometimes it was hard to tell if it was just them being like a kid and being ornery, or if it was really like grief was coming in there. And so I think that like it changed our family dynamic just because we all held to each other as a family. Like we came together and supported each other.
Yeah.
Our daughter's name is Macy. We speak her name lots. Like we treat
like you actually like speak
yeah,
her name. Like,
yeah. And that's
cool.
That's something that I would say if I know you guys didn't ask this.
No,
but,
this is what
go
we want to
for it,
know, man.
But
Real
like
talk.
if you have friends who have lost anybody, it doesn't matter a kid or not, like that's one of those things that are super important to do. Is it's not going to hurt their feelings. It's not, speak the name of the lost one, because for me, Macy is my daughter.
Right.
I got to hold her, but not while she was alive on this earth.
Yeah.
And so for me to hear other people say her name is super important, just so that I know that people remember her too. We have a picture of her hanging up there with our family picture. In fact, sometimes we take that picture with us when we go get family pictures, so she's in the family picture.
Oh, that's cool.
And so yeah, like it's just kind
I'm
of
trying not to cry right now, man.
Yeah, I know.
That's amazing.
so yeah, it's brought our family together, on a whole new level. And it's interesting too, because my youngest daughter, who wasn't alive when that happened, even now we'll talk about her just like she's has a sister that's here. Like she'll be like, da da da, Macy, and yeah. So like she even Hattie, our youngest, is finds that it's still she's Macy's part of our community, our family, even though she wasn't around when it happened.
Right.
That's cool.
Man.
Now, is that hard for you and your wife to hear though, or is that kind of a exciting, reassuring?
Like you mean my youngest daughter, or
Yeah. Like with your youngest daughter, like
Sure.
bringing up Macy, is that kind of like is it like a bittersweet moment, or
It is, because it's like it's almost like Macy's here, like
Yeah.
she
like you wish she was here, but she's not. I mean, she's with Jesus. Let's
Right,
be honest.
absolutely.
So
but it's great because if she was here, she would be just as part of our family, and my youngest daughter would know her and hang out with her. So it's reassuring to have her say those things. Oh, it is kind of funny because all of our kids are now kind of this like death to them is like just something that happens.
Yeah.
Where some kids that don't understand it. Like so,
Right.
even our youngest daughter sometimes I don't know that she fully understands it, but she'll be like, "Yeah, I have a sister." Actually, it's funny because we'll be out places and she'll be like, someone will say something like, I have, oh, nice that you guys have 4 kids. And my youngest daughter will be like, well, we have a sister. Her name is Macy, and she died. Like, just very bluntly like that.
Kids say the darndest things.
Right. And so it's like,
dang.
yeah.
Wow.
I can sort of relate to your story. I didn't have to go through it myself, but I understand as a dad. I mean, even for me, and Mark, we've talked about this, and I've talked to your teens about it. Before my oldest daughter was born, my brother had a 13-month daughter who got caught between a mattress and a wall and suffocated to death.
Yep.
When my wife was pregnant, 5 months pregnant. Like, we were supposed to find out the gender the very next day, and I know how much that affected me and how scared I was of what's going to happen to my kids. So, I mean, I guess when I asked, how did that change your family dynamic? That's where I'm coming from, is because it changed my whole view as a dad. I was scared to death, and still kind of am, for my children what will happen. And so, what's kind of your mindset these days? I mean, do you worry about that? Do you just give it to God? And where are you at with that?
Sure. I think right now, I don't necessarily worry about it as much
Mhm.
now. When my wife was pregnant with Hattie, it was very stressful because the Macy died and we didn't really have a lot of good answers as far as what happened.
Right.
And so we didn't know what to expect. With our youngest, it was kind of like, okay, like just constantly praying. Like obviously I pray over my kids a lot, but it was constant when she was pregnant, and then we actually found out before she was born that she had a cleft lip and palate. And so like our youngest daughter, and so like at first that was like kind of devastating, like, oh no, like we're gonna have to deal with this. But then as we processed that, we realized that that was not a big deal because she's alive.
Right. Wow, it just got real in here. And Joel's over here like,
Joel's just hanging out listening to
Wow,
the story, man.
I mean, you lived with Andy.
Yeah,
for
you walked-
this,
yeah,
right?
I mean,
with him.
Yeah.
For us, Macy will be 6 years old. That's right, 6
Yeah.
years old in April 12th. I mean, so the
And you know that shows the tightness of bond. Let's
Yeah.
talk
The
dudes and
brotherhood,
dads.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know her birthday.
100%.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. That's a date. When April 12th comes along, myself and my wife, are three other of our close friends. We will be on the phone. We will be sending text messages. We will say, "Happy birthday, Macy." We will remember all of that stuff. And like gosh, it's been really interesting because I mean we say this all the time. Mace the legacy, the ministry that Macy has left behind. I mean, Hope Mommies in Northern Indiana. That is because of Macy. My ability to pastor and to care for families that have gone through loss or are having any number of issues is directly proportional to my experience with walking with Andy and Julie. The second, I mean, I had only done one funeral prior to us burying Macy, and that was for my grandmother who was old, and those things happen, and then so much of what I have learned in ministry, what I have learned as a father, all those sort of things, I mean, is very proportionate to and is connected to us walking with them. But like Andy said, I mean, one of the greatest gifts that we received as friends was just the ability to know, and it was a little awkward at first, but the ability to know that we say her name, we speak her name, we talk about her, regularly as one of the family. And I think that's just for anybody listening, don't feel like you can't say it.
Yeah.
And because whoever's gone through that loss, they already remember on a regular basis that they have lost. It's not like they forget.
No.
Yeah.
Like even my dad who passed away, I mean, I was 10, so that's 18 years ago.
Right.
You don't just forget that.
Right.
No.
It's part of
No.
your story.
Yeah, there's not there's not these long periods of time that go by. You're like, oh, that's right, I lost this person. Like that, it is forever part of
Right.
of their daily life. And so, for us again to acknowledge that she existed, she was real. We all saw her. That never changes, and we want to. I think that's one of the best things that we can do as friends is just to remember. her.
Right. Well, and I think too, like it goes back to what we were talking about as having a set of guys and a set of people who can be there for you. I mean, they were up in Michigan. Joel and his wife and the other couples that are our close friends were up in Michigan. We were home because we didn't want to leave because we were going to have
You
a
were
baby
super
soon.
close to your due date. Yeah.
Right. And we called them, and they were in the middle of dinner when we called them and said, hey, our daughter just died. And they're like left before dinner was done, came back, and were here for us in our grief. They were in the hospital with us.
Yeah.
They got to hold the baby too.
Yep. So I would just, but again, on the flip side, my dream one day is my redeeming dream is that we will all go to that restaurant that we were at when we first heard the news, and we'll have a meal together, and I'll finally get to have chicken and waffles. It's odd.
In honor of Macy.
Like, I literally remember that, like literally it was like, it's just so weird. It's like one of those moments that is just like very much etched in our memory. It's like, I remember the thing that I was about ready to eat. I remember where we were, what was going on. And so, yeah, the journey continues, but boy, oh boy, has it been just the fruit of all of it, which is how we know that really God has been in it, is has been pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I got a question that kind of comes off of that, off the tail end of that. But we've talked about Macy, and we haven't really talked about much about how we can impact our other children too. I see the impact that Macy made on your family and on Joel, and how does that impact your other kids? How do we as fathers, as dads, impact our kids for Christ?
Do do stuff with your kids, first of all. I mean, building trust with my children. Let me, I guess, back up and say this. Okay, so there is a high correlation between irresponsible parenting or absent parenting and lack of belief structure in life. And I'm not trying to do a bunch of pop psychology or whatever, but
Pastor Joel's coming out.
Well, find any well-known, very outspoken atheist, and the story from their childhood are all very, very similar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When a child learns that from the early age of, hey, when I have a need, there is a authority over me that meets that need and is there for me when I need them, that builds faith. That builds faith structures. That's the beginning developmental part of it, right? And that just continues on into adulthood. And I mean, Andy has heard me preach and talk about the prefrontal cortex, a million and one times. But a kid's brain, just developmentally, somewhere, depending on the research, they're saying even close to 29 years old, there's not full formation in those areas of discernment, wisdom, judgment, all of those things.
So Mark, you ain't there yet. Sorry, buddy.
Hey,
so close.
But even between 11 and 15, I forget what it's called, but it doubles.
Yeah, right.
Like your brain capacity skyrockets
we-
between
we-
11 and 15,
yeah,
and that's
we
why your
covered some of
entire
these.
life can be. Episode.
It was
episode 10 with Justin Herman.
No,
That was one of them. That
was
talked about
one,
this.
and then we also covered it in the Would Jesus Smoke Pot?
Would you smoke? That's right. We
how
talked about
drugs
that, and then Justin
affect
goes
all
into
that,
it with the.
We're
with the
right on
teenage
board
brain.
with you
So,
there.
yeah,
Beautiful.
we're tracking, bro.
So just again,
It
it's
ain't new age. It's real talk.
It's real talk. No, that's the thing of being present and meeting your kids everything Andy said, I just echo. Like it's I have found for me in this season of life, I have to sort of build in, like that's why we do 4-H. It's a big part of it. I am in some way outsourcing the structure and the time to have intentional connection with my kids.
Right.
But I'm going to be there. So when we go to fishing club meetings, I'm sitting right next to my son. We're learning together, and then we're going to go apply some of the things that we learned. Hopefully, we catch fish at some point.
You're not a fisherman if you're not catching fish.
We're working on that part of it.
But you're doing it together.
But
though.
we're doing it together. So we're building that into the rhythm, and I guess, and I've just learned, it's like, yeah, at this stage in my life, I need other people to supply the form and the structure. And then but it's going to be something that we can both do together. And here's the deal: my ability to convey the gospel and to convey the love of Jesus to my kids, it's going to be very hard for my kids to believe that God loves them if their father, if their heavenly father loves them, if their biological father is out doing any of the things that men do to escape from responsibility, from themselves, from all that sort of stuff. And believe me, those challenges and temptations are in front of me, just like there are anybody else on a daily basis. There's always something else I could be doing, and in ministry, there's always something else that I could be doing.
The job is never done.
That would be for ministry that other people would pat me on the back for, but that means
Your family would suffer.
Yeah, that means my family would suffer. And so, the moment that I can't be sure that I'm caring for my kids and investing in them, if that ever gets to that point where it's like, well, then other things, including, I mean, everything is up on the altar before God as far as what needs to stay and what needs
Yeah.
to go.
It's kind of like I've described in some of our past episodes. It's that almost like a structure tree where you have God as your first priority, your wife is your second or husband, then your children, and then everything else.
Right.
I mean, that's the structure.
And my wife,
so-
and that's the thing, to point that out though, is that my wife always wins out over my kids
Right.
every single time, because my kids need to see that.
Yeah. So, and you alluded to that too.
Yeah,
about
Andy,
me.
the way Andy said that was really great, because it's working with other youth pastors who frequently talk about the the phenomenon of the helicopter parent or the lawnmower parent, which is another one where they mow down.
Lawnmower.
They
I've
mow-
never heard of that one.
They mow down the grass in front of their kids, so there's zero hardship of even, you can
okay.
helicopter over your kid and just be around and be overseeing all things at all time.
right.
You can even get down on the ground level and say, I want no hard things for you in your life, and that includes even the grass in front of your feet. So I'm just going to mow that down too. I hear a lot of youth workers talk about that phenomenon, in that it's very clear that the kids are number one, and they are reminded every single day that they are number one, and it's like no. My relationship with my wife is going to take what takes first place. Let's just be clear, because I'm with her for the rest of my life.
Right.
My kids will
Your
leave.
hope-
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to be sleeping in a separate room.
Yeah, that's right. But they need
Joel,
to
if
see
Joel's
that.
kids are listening, they're getting kicked out at 18. So
Yeah.
buckle up.
Bye-bye.
Have fun, kids. But there is a sense in which, like, they need to see that, because that needs to be the expectation for as they grow older too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Setting that
and
example.
yeah, it's like
Yeah, because hopefully they'll get married one day too.
yeah, and it can feel like, with 4 kids. My kids range. I got let's see here, 10, 9, 6, and 3.
You said I was busy.
Jeez Louise.
You got one who's going to be in
I
your
feel
youth
like I
group in a couple years, man.
I've got 15 months between the
Bro,
first
you
and
had
second.
3 kids under 3, Fuller. You didn't
Yeah.
mess around.
You were light speed compared to me, but
Fuller got it done.
you got it done.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Let's move on.
I'm sure that's exactly how your wife felt.
If Eli is still listening, sorry, Eli.
Yeah,
Sorry,
He's one of
Eli.
my teenagers.
whatever life lessons you're
That's
learning.
that's
here.
the pastor's son right there that we
Yeah.
just called out.
Anywho.
But yeah, I just it's and that's the thing where I just continually reinvesting in my marriage. There's some things recently that Jackie and I have, my wife Jackie and I we've sat down on, and I just flat out told her, like, I'm not killing it in this department, and something has got to change. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what the something is,
But you just know something is wrong.
something is wrong.
But you're having those open conversations to
Right.
try to
and you're willing to
identify it.
admit, and that's part of, I think, being a man that most people don't want to talk about, is the fact of, honey, I am messing up. I know you need to be loved better, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
and the big thing is, they told my wife the other day, and this is because I recognize that a lot of it had to do with my behavior. I just said, I feel very alone right now. Now for your wife, my wife, who again, we're co-parenting 4 kids, and who also is working full time in a professional job, and who is also trying to have relationships of her own.
And she's a mom, and they're just nuts.
All that
Moms
stuff.
are
All that stuff. It was hard for me, because it's like, gosh, this will sound. I feared about sounding super selfish, because it's like the moment, because I worried about how my wife was going to receive. Like, like I feel alone right now, and she's like, because I could, in my own mind, I'm like, alone. Like, we're every waking moment that we could possibly be around. Well, there's always these mitigating circumstances that are in the midst of, and sometimes that's why we just say, kids, I'm shipping you off somewhere else. I'm going to go to Saugatuck, Michigan, and hang out with some other adults, and I'm not going to think about you for 2 days. And it's not that I don't love you, but it's just like,
It's time.
your mom and I need to be able to have a conversation without being interrupted every
Oh, yeah.
however long.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let me ask this, if you don't mind. I mean, we kind of were setting the podcast up to be about how do you impact your family and the world,
Right.
but we're gonna let's stay in families
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Let's stay
I
in
agree.
families. So I'm the young gun, I'm the young whippersnapper, I'm the almost zoomer. So So I want to learn from you guys, all right? Because I am entering into the stage that you guys, and Fuller too. I mean, even though you're a boomer, you're entering into that stage too. But listen back a couple episodes and you'll know why I said that. But are there
You
any...
act like Andy and Joel are like
But they-
50 years older than us.
they tight, but
They're cool.
I'm
they're cool.
36, and
I'm
Andy is
40.
No, you're
40.
not.
Yes, I am.
No way.
But you're the cool 40-year-old, bro.
That's what I
thanks.
tell him. I tell him all
You're
the time.
You're a
40-year-old
young
who's
40.
the junior high dude. But so
They
here's-
keep me young.
So there's a great book out there. I'm sure you've heard of it. I mean, Jonathan McKee, he's like the greatest parent guy ever. He wrote a book called "If I Had a Parenting Do-Over, Here Are the 7 Vital Changes That I Would Make." So if I'm going to ask you guys this question, both of you, if you could each do one parenting do-over,
This is a really good
what
question.
would you
This is
do?
good. Wow. this is
Wow.
And we're almost an hour in.
good. Wow, yeah.
That was just like wham. Didn't even give him a chance.
Nope.
I-
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go
I
ahead,
think
Andy.
if I was going to do the whole thing over, I would still be even more intentional in making each kid feel special. I think we've done an okay job at that as parents. We try to take our kids out on dates every so often, but that's really hard with 4 little people running around
For
your
the little
house.
people.
Right, running around your house because you still need to have a date night with your wife.
Right.
And then if you try to make even once a month, like that doesn't work out like that. So it's hard because they want a lot of time. They want to go out with us.
Oh, I feel that. Yep.
Right. And so but if you only do once a month with each kid, that's, you're still 4 months before you get to the next kid again.
Right.
Back.
Twice a
Imagine
year.
Right.
Solomon and all his wives, bro.
Oh,
like,
man.
dang.
So I think that would be.
Anabaptists don't do that, right?
Nope.
No.
Sorry, I had to do a poke. No, but keep going.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I would try to figure out how to do differently because I don't think I've been very good at being intentional with the separate ones. Like I think we've done a really great job at as a group or as like me taking the boys out to do something or the girls out to do something, but
Right.
as each individual kid, I've not been super great with that.
Cool. What you got, Joel?
That's funny, Andy. So, like, Andy is my role model when it comes to how he engages his kids.
He
Like,
called you old, buddy.
well, I mean,
He
I
called you old.
I really appreciate.
I'm shaking my head over here.
Yeah, I really appreciate how I know the struggle is real, and I get all that. I just appreciate how it is. I'm gonna kind of, gosh, it's funny, close to mirroring his response, but it's trying to think if I can explain this. So my eldest son Aaron is a really gifted baseball player. Just really naturally gifted, and he's really good at it. My second son Josiah, he's okay, but it's not his. He's not thrilled about the game, right? I love baseball with
Tigers.
everything that is within my body, and grew up playing it. And
It's a good thing to watch when you want to take a nap.
No.
shut your mouth.
I agree.
So-
You heathen.
those are fighting. Those are fighting
No,
words.
I'm a soccer guy, so it's
Lame.
I get the same thing.
A game that ends in a score of consistently
1-0.
1-0.
Right.
What is that?
Yeah.
So that being said, I struggled initially with trying to identify like where I could meet each kid individually with like what they were interested in or what like to be more intentional about that. Because like Aaron, I'm the eldest.
Baseball.
Baseball.
He was good at it. He enjoyed it. Kid had a smile on his face anytime he was on the field. We're both he's my eldest son and I was the eldest
So
in
there's
my
even
family.
a special bond there.
I just get like I got him in a lot of ways. Super sensitive heart. Like I just all the things got it really, really well. Josiah comes along and Josiah is he's going to work for NASA or something. I mean, the kid is like, you put Legos in front of him or something to build, or he wants to constantly understand how things are working and operate. Aaron could care less about that sort of stuff.
Give me a bat.
And it was like, okay, man, he definitely has interests. They're just different than mine.
Right.
And so it's like, how do I enter into a space? Because it's like me entering into a space that I am less comfortable with to meet my kid where they're
Or
at.
maybe not even like.
And,
Yeah.
and no dad wants to be like, man, my kid knows more than me in this
Yeah,
area.
right.
Like,
It's like-
I'm supposed to be the parent. I'm supposed to be the
Right.
person that
Yep.
they look up to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and so I think the do-over is just to have the radar initially of saying, okay, I want to identify the thing that I can do with my kid to best encourage them where they are, and not where I feel more comfortable or where I feel, right now Matthew, my 6-year-old, he's just straight up normal boy. Like, give him some Hot Wheels cars and a ramp that he can slide them down or whatever, and he's playing futsal right now.
Oh, wait, what?
That's my boy.
Do you know about the futsal?
I play
don't.
futsal every Thursday night.
So we have a fantastic here in Goshen, a brand new futsal court that exists.
And really?
It's
Futsal is indoor soccer with like a size 3 soccer ball. It's weighted kind of funny, so it doesn't bounce.
and it's got there's no walls. Like, so there's
There's 2 different types. There's indoor soccer that has walls, and then there's futsal, which is
we have 0 walls. It's it's the courts.
It's
so
out of bounds. So it's out of bounds like normal soccer.
So there's like 3 courts. It's basically an old was a YMCA turn. It was in a racket club, but they have 3 courts in it.
Oh,
and
that's
they're playing.
dope.
So doing developmental leagues, all this sort of stuff. So Matthew is doing this, and he's getting out there, and it's like I played some soccer, so it's like I understand what's going on. But again,
It's a beautiful game.
Baseball is the American way.
I don't disagree.
That's okay. I like the sport of the motherland.
All I know is that the Tiger. Sorry to interrupt, but the Tigers is American League, so just tag that in there.
Well done.
Celtic FC from Glasgow,
Hey,
Scotland.
you
That's
just be
my
quiet.
people.
Joel's talking.
That
You just shut me up.
so that
Keep going. So your son plays futsal.
that being said, and then I've got my little girl who just
You're wrapped around her finger.
oh my gosh.
I have 2 girls. I know.
It's just I frequently find
Andy
myself
knows.
myself
Girl
doing
dad.
this, being like, this thing that I'm doing with Molly right now, or for Molly, I would have never have done for her brothers. Like, I would never have.
We need an
Now,
example.
how old is Molly now?
Molly is going to be 4 in July, so she's 3.5 basically.
So have you done because I know my daughters always bring me their dress up stuff.
100%.
It's like the fake earrings. You put them on.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's that dad life. I'm
That
looking
is
forward to
too.
that, dude. My daughter's 14 months, so
I have a picture somewhere of my beard with
Yes, you
clips
do.
in it.
Yeah, they put them all in.
Yo.
And it's like
wear
the patience I think
Oh,
I
right.
have for my daughter is far extends what
Oh,
I
Andy's
have
pulling it up. Andy's pulling it up right now.
for the boys. Yeah. So
We're gonna need that picture so we can put it in the show notes.
No, we're gonna turn around and show it to the camera.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
it's
That is
gorgeous.
great.
Put that in the camera,
It's
Andy.
terrifying, but gorgeous.
But it's for your kids, man.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And
For
that's
your
the thing.
kids.
It's like your kids are never
for
gonna
your
forget
girls.
that. You
Yep.
know.
It's
Yep.
a different, your
Right.
girls and your boys. You just
Can I segue into girl dad a little bit with the whole Kobe Bryant situation? Did that change the game for you as a dad of a daughter, or is it more just the fact of life is fragile? Because I know some people were like freaking out about the whole girl dad thing. That's been kind of a hashtag lately.
Well, it's like gosh. Put it this way. I'm going to do my absolute best to not be this may be a strange connection. I'm going to do my absolute best to not be the guy holding the shotgun at the front door when the first guy comes to, whatever
For
I've
junior
embraced
high
it.
prom.
whatever
I've
the case
embraced
is,
it.
right?
I'm just gonna be that guy.
And so, or cleaning my knives, when whatever.
Old school dad.
That's the definition of Fuller right there.
Because and this is why, just from my perspective, this is why I say this, is that what I Kobe, from everything that I've heard and everything I've said, he's developing his daughters into being strong women. That it's not that they didn't need a dad or whatever, but it's like, my daughter's not going to be with me for the rest of my life. So it's like I'm going to have a full confidence that any dude that comes to my front door wanting to take my daughter with someplace has earned every bit of being in that spot. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be very clear about my expectations for any man that is hanging around with my girl. No problem there, but I'm not going to. I have no desire to use fear or intimidation to get them to act right. It's going to be my daughter knows what she is,
right.
what she is worth, who she belongs to, and that's the goal. Now that being said, I was a middle school and high school boy once, and I would not want my daughter probably to date me at various point. Like,
Right.
if there was a version of me at that point, I'd have concerns. I would have concerns.
Oh yeah.
So it's
I can relate to that.
I get it. But again, it's that's how I have thought about it. Is when I see Kobe, like he was all about making his daughters into like strong women who knew what they were, who
Right.
knew who they were, who they belonged to.
That's cool. And I was trying to find the exact podcast. I listened to Amy Porterfield, who does all about digital marketing, and she had someone on her show, and I think it's this person, Tanisha Jackson Warner, or it could have been one of the other ones. And they actually had a statistic where the most successful women in the world, whether they're CEOs or whatever, their father played a huge role in the
100%.
fact of actually
being involved.
being involved. And at the end of the day, their dad was still the most important person in their life, and they're 40 years old.
Yes.
And I think that's a cool aspiration to live up to.
I without getting all not even political. That's not even the right word. Getting on the soapbox. It takes strong mothers and strong fathers parenting together to raise kids.
Preach it.
And that's not me being like, I don't know. There's no hate or malice in what I'm saying there whatsoever. I get it. There are single parent families. I understand those circumstances. But when we're talking about ideals, when we're talking about the goal that we're all shooting
and let's
for,
be honest, the way God created it,
Yeah.
it's the way it was originally designed.
it's just like let's just say that's really super important. And dads, you do your dad thing well. Moms, you do your mom thing well. And by the way, whenever possible,
do it well together.
do it well together. Exactly.
Yeah. Do you want to bounce off that, Andy? Or did Joel sum it up wonderfully?
He summed it up perfectly, and it is different. I mean, if you've never been a dad to girls versus guys, like there is just something different about raising girls. And it's not that I wouldn't do anything for my boys, because I definitely would, but there's just, I don't know, there's just something different about girls.
Yeah,
definitely. There is something different.
I mean not in a good way though.
So,
It's
yeah.
not bad,
Yep.
but
Yep.
They
But, I
melt
mean,
your
there's-
heart, and they can do
Right.
no wrong. I mean, they do wrong, but it's like, oh,
Right.
why did you do that?
But it's your princess.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Well, hey, so we are about out of time, but I want to make sure we ask all the questions we want to for our listeners. So, Fuller, is there anything else in your back pocket that you got to know?
No, I think they've answered very
We're
well.
just such an
Family.
open book.
Wow. They come on Real Talk Christian, and I feel like it's been a real conversation with the dudes
This
and
is
dads.
exactly what we want, man.
Right
this was the
here.
vision behind
Right
Real
here.
So
Talk.
good. So glad.
So before we end it, though, I want to make sure we put it out to you guys. Is there
Sure.
anything else you would want to add to our listeners who are parents, who are soon-to-be parents, that you would want to add to this conversation?
Oh,
You can say nope if you want.
I'm just trying to think.
anything?
I just want to make
Anything
sure.
we've
I want to make
covered or
sure we
not
don't.
covered?
I want to make sure we don't miss anything.
We've cleared the air.
I think I would just reiterate the spending time with your kids, making it intentional, being present, and then also the relationship with your wife being important. Also, making sure that they see that, and as Christians and dads, that it's important that they see your walk with Christ too.
Yeah.
So, like, if they see you doing devotions in the morning, they see you praying, they see how important your faith is to you, that you're living that, and it's not just like, oh, this is something that I do outside of my family. Like, no, your faith needs to be part of your family, and it needs to be something that you guys do together, and that they also can see you and your example and how you do that, and then how you also treat your wife.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think modeling a worshipful life with your kids. Just recently, so my 10-year-old has mastered the ability to read worship songs during church. Like he can read fast enough that he can sing the songs up on screen, right?
No, so you guys do modern worship here with the lyrics up on the screen, like not a hymnal, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's mixed. Like Most of the time, yes, but there also is sometimes hymnals involved.
Just to be clear, the Anabaptist tradition of 4-part hymn singing is deep and
yeah.
still very, very abiding here, which I love.
Right.
I love the depth that brings. So yes,
but up on the screen, he's able to track with the screen
Yeah.
transitions
so here's
fast enough.
you wanna see me cry in church. It's when Aaron is he's standing on the pew next to me, and he is singing. He's worshiping Jesus with me,
Yep.
Yeah.
and we're singing together, and he's just like going for it, right? And I'm like,
It's okay. I
And
gotta
this
go
is-
up and preach after
yeah.
this.
And that to me, like that is sort of a metaphor or an image of what I hope
Here we go.
my children are experiencing and seeing, where it's like we're all singing the same song together in different ways, and that it's clear to my kids that Jesus is not a job for me,
Mm-hmm.
that Jesus is a way, and he is the way, the truth, and life, that he is a calling, that he is fundamentally, and they're going to hear more and more about it the older they get. Jesus has fundamentally changed Dad. Jesus has made Dad into who he is today, and yeah, Dad's a moron and a jerk and all these other things from time to time. Remove those pieces. That's part of
But Dad has Jesus.
But Dad has
Jesus
Jesus
is still working on Dad.
That's
so.
100%, and that's the thing. This just brings me up. My wife and I had a bad argument a few days ago. I lost. I came off. I stressed out. It was not all. It was other surprise other issues that
Of course,
I brought into the conversation, and lost it. We're arguing in our room, which was still not far enough away from my
soundproof.
my children, not soundproof, and it is yeah, that's still bothering me. Now my wife and I, we apologized to each other and talked with each other in front of our kids the next day, which, by the way, say you're sorry to each other in front of your children. That's a really good thing to do. But yeah, I just the idea of, like, my kids saw the broken, they experienced in some way, shape, or form the broken parts of me, and then hopefully are also seeing that, like, yeah, but I'm gonna maybe I didn't follow Jesus into that conversation, but I'm gonna walk with Jesus out of it, and which is, again, it's just me trying to practice what I preach. That's what I tell my students all the time. Students are in a bad situation. I go, "Did you follow Jesus into this?" I was like, "Can you follow him out?"
Mm-hmm.
And
There he is.
and so I'm just trying to. The second question is, the answer is always yes, thank God. And so I'm just trying to model that. Some days okay, and some days not. But that's what it's all about. I want men. I want to raise men who have a heart that has been broken by Jesus, and is that
That's cool.
that he owns them. He has them. So
Cool. No, thanks for that. So our RTC family, we want you guys to connect with Dudes and Dads. So we want you to find them on Instagram, find them on Facebook. Actually, listen. You're really
Podbean.
going to start listening.
They're on Podbean
You
too.
are on Podbean.
Yes.
You're on Podbean as well. So anywhere podcasts are at,
Just if you
follow
don't know,
them, find them.
Google Dudes and
and
Dads
and start
podcast.
listening. But if you have any questions that you want us to ask Dudes and Dads, or you guys even have ways where people can call in and leave voice messages and actually ask you guys specific questions.
And by the way, they got some really cool swag. I'm just saying, you can go to their store, get some of their swag. Just saying.
so nice.
How about they start with ours?
Well, that's
And then,
we got to have
I
some
love
swag
it.
to
I
give
love
out
it.
first.
But Dudes and Dads, Joel, Andy, you guys,
Thank
that
you
was
so
awesome.
much.
That
You're
conversation was legit. So thank you. But
Thank you.
before we end, we have to bring you guys into our favorite tradition. And I got to explain a little bit about this. It's Fun Facts with Fuller.
So it's funny though
But
how it started.
It is funny. And then I got to tell them about the tradition that we have with Fun Facts with Fuller.
Okay.
Every Fun Facts, so we normally record 2 episodes a week, right?
Right.
I always know one of the fun facts, and I always don't look at one.
Surprise, one of them.
So I have not looked at this. So when you guys started like talking a little bit about
were
it,
like,
I zoned out.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
So
I just remember something with bicycle. That's all I remember. So I know Andy has at least seen.
I have
Joel,
seen
have
it.
you seen the fun fact?
Andy and Joel are skeptical whether it's true or not.
So
We had
here's the deal. This is
conversation.
going to be new information for me.
So we're gonna let Mark fact check it here once I read it. So
they're gonna see me do it. I fact checked it.
Did
But the second you say it, I will start fact checking.
he always does. It's a
Fuller's-
tradition of every episode to be
Fuller's full of
fact checked.
crap. So
he always does this. So,
Fuller is fuller of crap.
but I just want to go on the story real
Oh,
fast.
yeah, yes,
So,
let's go.
So it all started. It was supposed to be like a final thoughts with Fuller, and it turned into just like I just spouted off a random fact. Episode 1, he's like, "Fun facts with Fuller." It is. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So it's been a tradition.
And then
since.
Jagger kind of
And then he started doing the
he started
fun
singing it, and
facts.
whenever he sees Fuller, it's like fun facts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jagger's one of
He's one of my
young
former
adults.
teens.
Yeah. Yep.
He was one of those
College
students
students
that
now.
was super close, a lot of ministry potential, and he's a cool kid.
Yeah. Very cool.
So,
anyways,
what's our fun fact
the
today?
fun fact
Fuller?
today in the 19th century. Joel's already gearing up the rebuttal. In the 19th century, experts warned women about a disease called bicycle face. Go ahead and type that in, Mark.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Which meant
I've
getting
heard of
stuck
this.
with the awkward faces they made while biking.
So if you've heard it, it must be real.
Bicycle. Oh nope.
Bicycle face.
Let's change this.
It's put 19th century disease
Bicycle
face.
Maybe a modernized version would be it's resting bicycle face.
RBF. Let's go.
You just had to, didn't you?
I did.
Joel?
Couldn't help it.
You've been working on that one.
If
saving
anyone
it
is
up.
ever wondering, Joel is a youth pastor, as you can
Yeah.
tell by that comment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's legit, bro. Like there's even Cosmo has some articles about that.
Why am I not surprised?
And Vox does.
I surprise everybody with my fun facts.
That's amazing. So needless to say, if you want to have a weird resting bicycle face, go ride your bike.
So I'm just gonna guess that like 19th century bicycles, they were difficult to ride.
Oh yeah, so it's probably like
Yeah, like
You
there's
know.
kind of a grinding of teeth, a
You know
concern for one's well-being.
But what ding dong is like, hey, your face is
hang
gonna
on.
get stuck
before
that way.
before we go, I want to see Andy's bicycle face. Your 19th century. Go do it in the camera, and then let's go to Joel. There you go. That's the dudes and dads bicycle
No,
face.
so
Yeah.
Joel, Andy, guys, seriously, thank you.
so
It was a
much.
pleasure.
Thanks
and
for having us.
For RTC family, we'll
Take
see
it
you
easy.
next time.
Thank you for listening to Real Talk Christian. To help get our podcast into the ears of other people who need to hear these conversations, we would love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. To keep the conversations going, feel free to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and share our content with others. See you next time.